So when I woke up naked on the floor of my cheap hotel room, I stopped to think for a minute. Wow, I sure do get a lot of comments from new subscribers asking the differences between AK-47s and AK-74s. So as soon as I could peel my face off the Holiday Inn carpet, I decided, you know what, that's exactly what I'm going to do today, because even though this information is widely available anywhere on the internet, Google's hard. That, and I'm always down to pad a 9-minute runtime. There are about 1 million esoteric differences between the AK-47 and the AK-74. For the purposes of this video, we're going to keep it relatively simple, just stuff either cosmetically that you could notice, or broad strokes here. We're just trying to figure out for the average person that is kind of maybe new to guns, or at least new to AKs, what the core differences are between the AK-47s and the AK-74s. So this is going to be our AK-47, and this is going to be our AK-74. Smile for the thumbnail. I know what about 5% of you are thinking right now. That's not an AK-47, that is an AKM. You're 100% right. For simplicity's sake in this video, this is what most people think of when they think of the AK-47. You're thinking of the stamp variant. This is the most common. So the traditional AK-47s were either, the Type 1 was kind of its own animal, and then you had Type 2s and Type 3s, which were entirely milled receivers. This one right here is the AKM, which was a redesigned AK-47 to be built on the much easier to mass produce stamped receivers. So anywhere in the world, if you see an AK-47, odds are it's going to be an AKM. These were by far the most produced rifles on the AK pattern. This one itself is a Romanian G kit. They say that because, they were very creative in their naming process. It's Romanian G. This right here has the infamous dong furniture. I don't name this shit, guys. But this is actually a kit build that we put together. This is one that my builder Mike took care of. So this is built on a Morrissey receiver, has the X-Tech magazine, ALG fire control group, because those are just awesome. We're right in the middle of tooling up for bigger production to be able to take more and more of this stuff in-house. So if you guys are interested, we'll do a video when we get the shop fully tooled up for the big production runs that we're looking at doing later on at the end of the year. If you guys are interested to see that kind of stuff, leave a comment down below. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to the AK-74. For our AK-74 here, we are working with actually the first rifle that I ever built. This is a Bulgarian AK-74. I built this rifle at the Rifle Dynamics build course. Really awesome experience. That was kind of what gave me my start into kind of wanting to explore building more. And it's a really nice rifle. This rifle I probably put, I forget how many thousands of rounds through. At a certain point, you just stop counting. Anybody who memorizes their round counts above 10,000 either has really, really bad OCD or they're lying to you. But yeah, other than that, this is your basic Bulgarian AK-74. It's got the plum furniture, and again, I installed an ALG AKT trigger group because they're just awesome. And of course, have to match plum with plum. Plum doesn't mean anything sexual in emoji world, does it? So the first major difference, this is like the difference between the two, is the caliber. So the AKM is traditionally chambered in 7.62 by 39, whereas the AK-74 is chambered in 5.45 by 39. The AK stayed chambered in 7.62 by 39 for most of its life until about, of course, the mid-70s when the AK-74 rolled around. Everybody was kind of moving to more like the 5.56 direction, so Russia moved to the 5.45, which I guess is kind of their direct answer to the 5.56. It was a slightly smaller diameter, but a faster bullet, and much better long range as well than the 7.62 by 39. It's a big bullet, a lot of energy. The AK-74 took a little bit of a different approach to that, and the 7N6, the surplus stuff, that's kind of famous for being the poison bullet, for ballistically the way the bullet tumbles after it hits its target because of a hollow nose there, and also steel core armor piercing. So really cool round. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit of a fanboy for the AK-74. I wish it was a little bit more common, but 7.62 by 39 is just so cheap in this country. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and move on to some of the key physical differences that you could observe between the AK-47 and AK-74. So these are some of the characteristics of the guns that you'll be able to, if you're just looking at an AK and you're not sure, is it an AK-47 or is it an AK-74? These are some of the things that might be able to help you out. First thing is the magazine. Now, because of the different calibers, their magazines are a little bit different in terms of angle. So the 7.62 by 39 has the traditional banana clip, banana mag. little curve to it. It's a pretty extreme curve because of the taper of the cartridge, and so if you see a magazine like this, you know 7.62x39 right off the bat. This right here is an X-Tech magazine, so it may look a little different than a lot of the typical steel magazines you might see, but notice the curve. Now on the AK-74, you notice it's a lot straighter. It still has a curve to it, but it's about half that of the 47 when you compare them side by side. It's definitely less of a curve. The 5.56 AK mags are even less so. So if you see kind of a straighter mag, you know for sure that that is either 5.45 or 5.56, most likely a 5.45. X-Tech is one to take the banana magazine thing kind of to a literal extreme. So the next thing is the muzzle device, or the thread pitch. So a lot of your AKMs or AK-47s are going to be threaded in 14x1 left hand. They're also going to have the traditional slant brake. And a lot of people are like, oh, my brake is sideways. No, it's not quite correct. These were made to mitigate the AK-specific recoil of kind of a lopsided operating system with the bolt carrier and all. So it's specifically made to kind of push the gun and correct for full auto fire and things like that. So kind of neat, really easy to mass produce, very basic brake. But if you thread this off, it'll expose the threads here, which are in the little plunger detent that's on most AKs there. Kind of cool, lets you swap your muzzle brake really easy without needing tools or anything like that. You have your threads, which are directly threaded onto the barrel, and these are 14x1 left hand. Now onto the AK-74, you'll see the traditional 74 style brake. This one is a little bit different. You see it's longer, it's got that nice little blast chamber in here, including vent holes on the top and a nice little vent here to port the gases, act a little bit like a better muzzle brake. So taking this one off, these are going to be 24x1.5 right hand threads, and you still have the plunger system, but this is actually, the threads on this barrel are not actually on the barrel themselves. The threads are attached to the front sight block, which gets really interesting when you start talking about things like suppressors. That can get a little wonky, but this is kind of an interesting concept. So if your muzzle brake really gets super stuck, you can always just press off and replace your front sight block. That's a joke, you really shouldn't need to do that. Next one up, and this one is not necessarily true, well, kind of like the threads, this is not necessarily true for some of the modern guns that are coming out from Arsenal and things like that. They have a lot of 7.62x39 guns that have some of the features of the AK-74. It's just kind of updated stuff, like the 24mm front sight blocks and the gas block, which is what we're going to talk about next. A big feature of the AK-47 traditionally is that 45-degree gas block. These may or may not also have a 45-degree gas port. Those were later abandoned in favor of the 90-degree ports, but a lot of the AKMs still have that 45-degree slant there. So that's just the method of getting gas from the barrel, bleeding out into the gas system to actually operate the firearm. Now on the AK-74, they moved to the 90-degree gas ports and the 90-degree gas block. So you see this one has a lot less of a contour there, and it just gas shoots straight up, straight back, and again, operates the firearm. Like I said, a lot of those features were also included on the Arsenals as well, regardless of caliber, so it's a good rule of thumb, but there are a couple exceptions. Kind of like the hot crazy rule. It's a good rule, couple exceptions. Moving on to the next thing, this is going to be kind of, along with magazine and everything, but obviously the AK-47s are going to have a wider magwell to accompany the wider magazine. I don't really feel like the need to show you both of them, it's wider. For this next difference, we're going to have to pop the hood. On the AK-47 or AKM bolt carriers, a lot of the time, now there are a million AK variants out there, so don't take this as gospel for every single one of them. But on your typical AK-47, AKM, your bolt carrier looks very plain Jane. There's just one little groove that goes on the side, groove that goes on that side. There's not a lot of crazy cuts or anything like that, just very, very standard. However, on the AK-74, on the opposite side there, you can see that there is a groove cut. This lightens up the bolt carrier a little bit. I don't know how well you can see that. Hey, how you doing? There's a groove that's cut right here, and that's usually, if you're going through a bin of parts, that's a dead giveaway that is an AK-74 bolt carrier. So yeah, those are just about the major differences between the AK-47 and AK-74. Hopefully this wasn't too boring for you AK veterans out there that, been there, done that, you guys know all this info. Hopefully I was able to add a little bit of entertainment value for you, but hopefully, I just wanted to make this video because I do know that there's a lot of people coming in that don't actually know the differences. You know, they know that they're different, and they might know the caliber thing, but there's a couple of different things that, you know, maybe this is new information for them. So I get the comment enough, and it's a really easy video to do, so I figured I would go ahead and make it for you guys so you guys have that information becomes a little bit easier for you guys to get to. As for what I prefer between 7.62 and 5.45, well, that's a bit like choosing between your children. It's just not a good thing to do. So I hope you liked the video, and don't forget about the AKG Notification Squad. I see you guys, and we're going to be giving away a lot of t-shirts coming up soon. So I guess that wraps everything up for today. I appreciate it, guys, as always. I'll see you sexy motherfuckers on Thursday. Gun Meme Review. It's coming. That work? So there are about 1 million esoteric differences. Oh, Jesus, really? So when I woke up naked on the floor of my cheap hotel carpet, that wouldn't be my cheap hotel room. Yeah, okay. So when I woke up naked on my cheap hotel, the floor, woke up on the floor. Yeah, okay.